Welcome to the First 40 Sports Show with the squad. It's Black Thor, Ice Water, and Puma. And let's talk March Madness. There are two left, Florida and Houston. And let's go through the current standings. You have Cuddy with a lead of 139. He picked Florida with a total score of 168. Have Ice Water in second place, 125. He picked Houston with 147. Also, you have Black Thor in third place at 119. He picked Florida 152. I picked Florida. I'm at 114, about 5 points behind Black Thor at 176. The way it's looking now, I don't think it's going to be an offensive game because you got two teams that are probably going to try to keep the score close. And Pop, he is in fifth place with 74 points. He picked St. John, so he's been out for a while. Let me get your comments, Black, on what you've been seeing in the games, man, because we said it on your podcast just a few minutes ago. This is why I like March Madness, the game with Houston and Duke. Everybody, I know the Duke faithful was like, oh, this championship, I'll get my hats. We're going, this, that, the other. And the last minute, it just turned for the worse for the Duke Blue Devils. And before you say something, I was saying all year that Duke really hadn't played anybody, and the top teams that they played in the season were Kansas, Kentucky. They lost to them, and they lost to Clemson, who was the strongest team in the ACC. But if you look at their schedule, they really hadn't played anybody, but that's why they were blowing everybody by 20 or 30 points throughout the season. They had a winning streak, but I felt that they would be going before the Final Four, but they hung. I got to give them credit. They hung in there. They played differently, but they could not compete with that Houston team.
No, they're very impressive, man. They're very impressive. I'm gonna say this right now, bro. I look at the standings. I see Ice Water 125. I see myself 119. Ice Water's in first place. I don't know who cute is or Cuddy is, bro. I'm not acknowledged that cat. He wasn't in our bracket. I'm not acknowledged. He's a late entry, came in after the first round. Might be your boy, but to me, he's not official. I'm gonna keep saying
Protested already.
He's not official, bro. He's just not official. But with that being said, the games last night, oh my goodness, Florida and Auburn. I really watched Auburn all year, but just to watch them, and they could have basically took their game. They kind of, I think they got tired towards the end. I think they really got tired. Their center, for the most part, seemed like he was limping and kind of couldn't pull together. But Duke, man, it's a young team. My thing was, and I thought this to myself, Roberts, he's a 6-year player. When's that cat going to stop playing? I don't know. It's like, because it was almost like watching some young cats down at the YMCA play the old crew, man. Because you had a brother there. Think about this too, man. You had a cat there that won a championship with Baylor. Yeah, how long ago did Baylor win a championship? That cat won a championship with Baylor, 4 or 5 years ago? The two guard or the point guards, I'm like, these are grown ass men right here. But all that being said, I believe that what's the name, when the pressure got tight, Duke wasn't just, they did not handle it. They did not handle it. They couldn't even get the ball in 3 or 4 times, man. Unbelievable. They weren't running cuts. They got scared. I hate to use the word choke for young men, but they got scared, man. They really got scared. And when that happened, the will of Houston just kind of took over. And from that point on, it was a done thing. But to me, they got nothing to hang their heads about. I will say this. If Cooper Flag decides to go to the pros, that team will not be that good next year. They'll be okay, but I don't think they'll be a standout. I don't think they'll make it that far in the tournament next year. That cat is good, though. I'm not going to take nothing away from him. He is ready to come. He decided to come. I don't know if he's going to be a standout. But he's big for his age. That's a very talented young man, man. Taking nothing away from him, man. He played. I watched him play a couple of games. That cat can ball, man. That can ball. He needs to get a little more dog in him if it's possible. He's gonna need that if he's going to step up, but he could play.
Yeah, Ice, the Bruiser brothers, Boozler brothers from Carlos Boozer, they're coming in to Duke next year, the twins. So they may be right back in this position again, even stronger, because I saw some high school games, a high school tournament over the weekend. And I think they won the high school national championship game. So you see a lot of players, former NBA players' sons are playing high school now, and they're jumping into college at this particular point. But let's go to the Houston Duke game, and then we'll go back to the Florida game against their opponent.
Yeah, man, that was a tough game to watch because I know how very good Duke is. You can tell how well seasoned they were in regards to the coach and letting those freshmen play a lot. But I just wondered, I said early on, I said, as you mentioned, had they played anybody? And I think that part of it was them coming out the way that they did. And Duke was like trying to really push up on Houston. But I think when you get to that point, it's like, okay, can they really hang on and are they seasoned enough to get it done? And Houston never quit. And from there, they just they really went down tough and made it happen and moved forward. And it was like, all right, we can try to get them keep going and quit going, and they never quit. And I think their coach was a catalyst in making that happen as well. Coach was a big catalyst in making them move forward, and they hung into the end. They did not quit. Duke faltered. They had every opportunity they wanted to make it happen, and they didn't. So, and I think that's why they were able to move on because of their experience.
All right, I'm going to stick with you with the Florida game, and Clayton has been doing it all year, the point guard for Florida. And the reason why I picked Florida is because I've noticed that, we always talk about year after year, the point guard play is going to be very, very pivotal in the tournament play. And I just saw that he was like Mr. Clutch all year. And in the SEC tournament and beyond, he's been the guy the go-to guy. Not their big guys. They have a great front line. But it was him. When they need something, they go to him. Me and Pop were talking about that today, that, the coach was saying, every time we need something or need a play, this is the guy that we go to, the smallest guy on the court. What did you think about that game?
No, I thought early on, I thought Auburn had a really good shot, but I always wondered whether or not Auburn would show up, the real Auburn would show up. Auburn's probably one of the most talented teams in the country. I said this since day one, but later in the season, they started to kind of get either lax or they started to make mistakes. It's almost like they lost focus, right? Florida's young, they run up and down, they like to run and push, but when Auburn would struggle because when their big man early on in that game, I think he scored like 12 points in the first half, and he had 3 in the second half. The defense of Florida started to change the way that the game was, and Florida had Auburn struggling to score points on offense. So that defense is really strong there. Florida keeps finding ways to win, and granted, they were down early in the first half. They came back around and made it work. And you got to take your hat off to them for getting it done, because I thought Auburn's going to come back around, but Auburn always, it's almost like they were their own worst enemy at times. Like the first game of the season, they had to postpone their game or delay the game, first game of the season, because they was fighting on the plane. So it's like they fighting amongst themselves. Like, damn. Yeah, they had to delay the game because they was fighting. They had to catch another plane. And I'm like, okay, they just kind of carried over. But you got to give it to Florida. They're getting it done. They got a young coach. Everybody's young. You said, was it Clayton? I think his name, Clayton Jr.
Yeah.
He's amazing. Hitting all the right shots. I'm going to say this and get out of it because now we're going to talk about the game itself, though. Like I told my brother yesterday, I said, literally, all I want to see is it's great when you shooting shots with nobody checking you. When you know Houston going to be checking him. And the other part, I'm just going to say, it's great when you shooting shots, nobody's checking you, and when you got to play defense. So I'm looking forward to it. I think it's going to be a great game. But I just want to see him because I saw my brother talk about Clayton. I said, if they ever checking, we got to worry about that tomorrow night, though. We know they're going to check him.
There's some wonderful screens that they set for him.
No, it's great, but you got to get over those screens. And if he dropped 40 on Houston, then God bless him. But he will be checked.
Yeah, because Houston did a job on Proctor. I mean, Proctor was the X factor for Duke. And that they read the scouting report and followed it to a T. Stop Proctor, you stop Duke.
Say one last thing, and I saw this stat, and that was hard for me to believe. And I'm gonna go back to Houston. That they had that big center, and he was making things happen and whatnot. There was a 21-minute stretch where he didn't get a rebound.
Yeah.
Can you believe that? That dude was dunking and hanging on the rim and from Somalia, wherever the hell he was coming from. He was hanging on the rim, doing all those great things. But for 21 minutes, he did not get a rebound.
Yeah. Not, we didn't do a show last. We did a show, but didn't record last week. Apologize. But last week we were talking about the game with Duke and how if you pull them out and make those big men work, Black, that it was going to be hard for Duke to win, and you got to shoot well from the outside to beat Duke. Your thoughts about the game with Auburn and Florida?
Yeah, I'm gonna tell you something, man. That cat got 40 points, but if he got Clayton, he got the hard way, man. They was on that cat for a period of time. They were, it was kind of double teaming him coming off the screen, and he basically found a way. But one thing that scares me about Florida, I seen them in that game. The big men got scared, man. The one of them got loose towards the end, but they was playing real timid, and they weren't playing their game in a sense until it got really towards the end of the game. I think Auburn, I'm cracking up here this fight on the fight early on in the season. That's just like
you don't remember that? We talked about that.
No, I don't recall that, man. If I did that one on my head. But I look at Florida, I don't think I like what the Cats said at halftime. We got to come out and play our game. We got to be true to ourselves. And I like that. They came out, they got tougher in the second half. And they kind of basically, in that sense, I think they wore Auburn down. I don't know how that's going to transfer because I think they're going to have to play all 5 and 7 of their players that play. You got to play with some serious dog all night, man. You can't just rely on Clayton. You just can't. Clayton is phenomenal, man. That cat, right? I don't know who's ranked number 1 in the NBA. That cat's a baller. He comes out right now. I mean, what team we would not benefit on? That cat is a pure baller, top to bottom.
All right, let's go to the women's game. UConn, they are the national champions. I felt kind of bad for Dawn Staley, but they just didn't have enough. They were making too many turnovers, too many mistakes against a UConn team that Paige Beckers was just locked in. Let's go to Black because you're in the Connecticut area. Are they running around, driving around, honking horns and all that stuff with the women's game? Is UConn winning?
Not yet, but they will be, man. Not yet, but they definitely will be. I mean, this state here loves the women's basketball. Don't get me wrong, they love the men too. They got a special place in their heart for the women. But like you said, Paige Becker, it was kind of like her time. I mean, it would have been nice if they had a chance to play Juju. We kind of see what it went down, but it opened up nice for them when she got hurt. And they played well all year. And the surrounding cast, man, just was there. And if you get Gino in that area with good players, good, solid, fundamental players, he knows what to do with them. I found it hard to watch the game. I actually turned off. I couldn't watch it, man. I tuned in, and South Carolina was down by 18, 20 points. And watching the team, they didn't have enough. You can tell mentally they weren't really prepared to go up against that juggernaut. And I watched Dawn Staley, man. It wasn't the usual Dawn Staley. She was emotional, just like shortly after halftime. And I was like, man, I can't sit through this. I just can't, man. So I turned away from it. I did check afterwards who won. But then congratulations, UConn women. They will be a parade. They will be honking the horn. And if I'm not mistaken, man, I think this is the 12th time they won. I remember when it goes back years ago, man, when they won their first one. And the battles they had with Tennessee way back then. So UConn their women have a history of basically, yeah, man, when they get up here, he knows what to do with them, and they turn out some pretty good teams. Congratulations to them.
Yeah, congrats to them. Aisha, words on UConn, national champions.
Yeah, it was a little surprising, but then I started watching the game, and the one thing I realized, I know there's a lot of hype about Paige Beckers, and she can play. She's a very tough player. But when you watch that game against UConn early on, I mean against South Carolina, you can see early on that they were trying to stifle Paige, but the other players were really playing. So they were moving the ball real well. And granted, Paige did end up with some significant amount of points, but it was the other players, like the big center. There was some fudge. They also had so many other contributors that the team outplayed South Carolina. And I think usually Dawn Staley has somebody that's a star or a point person that you go through. And I don't really think she had that. They were kind of playing based off of we got some good players. got those 10 All-Americans, as the coach from LSU like to say. But there really was no true like number one leader and nobody like that. And I think that's where UConn was able to get into them. And it was almost as if, in the past, you watch South Carolina, you go, we're going to be able to move forward and just focus on our one person that's going to make it happen, and they're going to lead us, or two people, right? But this time there was like no hero's effort because UConn started to play real well. And then at the while, they just start, it's like you watching the Globetrotters. They keep doing the same thing over, switching the ball, handling it off, going back door, open basket. And then when your team doesn't know how to stop it, then you're in trouble. So I think that's what it was. And unfortunately for Don Staley, she probably was frustrated, as stated earlier, she was emotional. But I also think too, she probably said, "Damn, I gotta get me some more top 10 players."
Yeah, because that game reminded me of the UCLA game where UCLA just couldn't find the answers. And this is why last week, when we found out about Juju not being able to play, it was like, man, that kind of takes all the punch out of this tournament, because I was looking forward for them to be in the final game and to see what Juju Watkins, who I felt had a phenomenal season, play and play for a national championship. Because when I watched the USC game, when they were playing, trying to get into the Final Four and to a championship game, it's almost like they woke up and realized, okay, Juju's not here, and they start playing that way, and they really just look discombobulated. And I remember texting Pop saying, "Yeah, they're out already. I mean, the game's not even over, and they're just pretty much out." Any other thoughts, Black, on the women's game?
Yeah, it's interesting because it seemed like you said when Juju went down, the tournament itself kind of went down, took a hit, man. It really took a hit, for the most part, because we didn't see where, it can kind of really go from that point. And South Carolina, man, to get to where they were, I understand Doris Staley, but you've been dominating for a long time, so she'll be back again. You'll win again. I know it hurts, but yeah, you'll be there again. You'll be there again. And it's sad to see that he took it that personal to where it made her emotional, but you'll be back. She'll be back. I'm watching something now, man. I'm sorry if I'm kind of bouncing back and forth because I know you're going to talk about the NBA soon, but I'll save it until you get to that part.
Okay.
I want to
real quick, I was listening to Dawn Stanley, two sound bites I got from her before the game. They were asking her about Paige Beckers, and she was like, "Listen, here we are again, same place we are last year." He's like, "We won. We were undefeated last year, and it was all about, Caitlin. Now the media, you're putting it on Paige. It's like, she's a great player, no doubt. But look what our team has accomplished. Look what the team accomplished last year. There was nothing about that." And then afterwards, they asked her about how are the women feeling. She's like, "I hope they're crying, the ones that are coming back, because maybe they will work a lot more harder to get back to this point and finish the job. We should be hurt. We should be crying at this particular point, because in the off season, that will propel us to get to the level that we saw that other team play today." But Ice, your thoughts, final thoughts on the women's game?
Yeah, no, I think Don Staley's right on that. But I think she's spot on from the standpoint of how it appears like even when they were winning last year, they still couldn't get the love. So now when she mentions it again, it seems like she's a sore loser, right? And that's tough. But she just wants to respect that she's earned, her program has earned over the years. And we know it's a second nature at UConn. UConn win, everybody expect UConn to do this and that. And the media seems to have a little bias at times because of Gino, what he's done. And maybe it's not biased. Maybe they just respect him for everything that he's continued to do. But and maybe Don is right. She's going to have to get more girls or girls that are hurting to find a way to come back. But I don't know. I thought it was a good game overall. I hope Juju Watkins is able to come back and show us what she's capable of, because I would love to see her play in the tournament, and not only play in the tournament, but have an opportunity to advance. Because even though we didn't see it this year, if it's feasible and it works that way, I like to see Juju up against UConn in the finals. I mean, we saw it earlier in the regular season. Heck of a game between those two, and Paige would be gone. But you just want to see the best players play. and want to see that it works. But I think what it has done, even though UConn won, it may not have had the flaw and fanfare that women's basketball did last year partially because of Clayton Clark, the way she was covered. But I still think it was some good games. I really do. I think it's some quality games, and you look at a team like Duke from the women's side and what Carol Lawson has done to that program since she left the broadcast booth. I think it's a lot of room for improvement. You're going to see a lot of movement in the transfer portal, and I'm excited for them. I'm really excited for them, and I hope it continues to grow because if the women's basketball, college basketball game grows, we'll have a lot of opportunities for more women, NIL, all kind of things. So I hope it continues to grow.
Okay, we're gonna go to the NBA. Black, what's your hot news? Your hot news flash for the NBA, man?
Yeah, I had the screen over here on the computer, basically where Golden State's playing Houston currently, and Draymond Green is trying to punk Houston, and they're like, "You know what? We ain't having it. We ain't having it." And it sets up for a nice playoff because even the coach came out and let them know, "Y'all ain't punking us. We ain't punking us. We ain't bound down to that little simple stuff that you've been trying to pull. We know you're trying to come, but in reality, I like Houston doing that, man, because I'm starting to, kind of looking around a little bit. OKC is starting to show some cranks or some taints or some dents in the armor, man. And they're starting to kind of play with their little lack of experience even before it gets here. And I don't know. I don't know. I know they've been leading the whole year, but you're going to have to kind of get in the players. We got to step it up. And I'm not sure. Just not sure, man. And, they played the Lakers today, and the Lakers took it to them. And we know the Lakers don't play any defense. And I don't think they know how to spell defense. I don't think if you put them on Wheel of Fortune, they would say D. You don't even know how to spell it, bro. So if you allow the Lakers to blow you out and you're strong you are offensively, I think it's a head game for them, man. I think it might be a head game.
I saw a game last week, the Nuggets versus the Timberwolves, and here's why I think Russell Westbrook gets a lot of flack because sometimes he doesn't know game time situations, and he really blew that game for Denver, where they would have been ahead of the Lakers in the standings at this particular point, as opposed to being behind them one game. And you have the lead, you have a 1 point lead, you're going and trying to dunk the ball instead of getting fouled, going to the line, and then you foul a 3-point shooter to make it even worse. And it's like, okay, now I see why everybody kind of leaves you behind or sends you somewhere else because here you are with a bona fide playoff contender, maybe championship contender, and you're still playing the same old way. Ice, your thoughts about the NBA, man?
Yeah, a lot of stuff is going on. I think it's like, what is it, 78, about 4 games left?
Yeah, just about.
4 games left. So I'm really hoping. I want the Lakers to slide to the 4th slot because I watched this game last week, or I think it was a couple of days ago, Golden State versus LA, the Lakers. And man, Golden State put it to them. They did. And they had Luka Doncic looking all like he was regular. He was regular. LeBron was playing hard. Everybody was playing hard. Draymond was trying to get a little off. And there's a guy, I can't think of his name, begins with a P. I think he's the European or something, a young guy for Golden State. And he had like 28 points. He's doing amazing things. And Steph was Steph. Jimmy Butler was Jimmy Butler. And they took it to the Lakers. And Lakers was like coming back. They were up by, Golden State was up by 10. And then they would come back on them. And then they couldn't do anything with them. So it'll be interesting. I know you mentioned about OKC. Yeah, they're gonna be tested. I think Houston is a really dangerous team. You don't want to see Houston in the West. They can be very dangerous. I still think though Denver could be a issue for somebody that's not used to it. I'm looking forward to it because the way that it's playing out, it's going to be very interesting in the West. And the Dallas Mavericks, I thought they was going to quit, but they still trying to hang on. Feel like that tense a lot. So we will see what happens there. I think overall but in the East, Cleveland, I mean, I don't know. I'm still a little skeptical on Cleveland. I know they are winning games and still in their first place, but I'm still skeptical on them. And I told you one of my other teams that I want to see. I think they can cause some problems depending on who they play. The third seed would be that would be a nice matchup. 3-6, Knicks versus Detroit. Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Yes, sir. I would love to see that.
I'm looking at Black's face. He's like,
yeah, that'd be a nice little matchup. So I like to see that. But I think it's going to be good. I think Milwaukee's a little bit overrated. They try to act like they're ready, but I'm not sure. But I don't know. Until somebody beats them, I still think Boston can turn on anytime they want to. So I think they still sit at the top of the throne, and we'll see.
well, you got the Bulls and the Heat in the play-in. They're at 9 and 10. And who else is at 9 and 10? Possibly the Kings and the Mavericks will be in the play-in. This play-in, I don't.
Yeah, it's time for it to go.
Time for it to go.
Go.
These teams have no shot. No shot. They're winning 35, 36 games. Yeah. Come on, stop. Yeah. You should cut it off at, if they can't win 42 or get to 42, you just cap it at 8, right then and there. All right, this quick hitters. Ice, what's your quick hitter tip?
One thing I found out, which was really crazy, is people act as if they were disappointed because it was chalk. It was the 4 seeds that were in the Final Four. And everybody wants the Cinderella. They want Loyola Chicago and Sister Mary and Mrs. Johnson coming to the game. Sometimes we just want to see good basketball. And I think with these 4, we saw really good basketball. And granted, I know somebody didn't win College of Charleston, because you remember the one year, I think it was San Diego State made the Final Four.
Mm-hmm.
It was noted that it was hard to get people to watch because you were happy about the Cinderella, but you're like, who the hell is that? who's on that team? And it was not fair to the players because they deserve to be better. But I think there was a lot of movement. And like you look at that coach that went from Florida Atlantic to Michigan, and he is not wasting time on he must have a lot of NIL money because he is getting transfer recruits. And I'm like, should have been in Columbus. I'm going to get in trouble for that. Should have been in Columbus. But he's not. Still.
Yeah. Black, quick hit.
Push, whatever, NFL. I don't understand these teams. They're trying to vote against it. Pittsburgh, go somewhere and sit down. Kansas, go somewhere and sit down. I like what the Jets coach said. I like what the Houston Texans coach said. It's my job to defend it and stop it. This is NFL. This is not flag football. If you can't stop it, then take the beating. I know Kansas, you got beaten in the playoffs. It wasn't Tish Push that beat you in the playoffs, man. It was your offensive line. How about that? About your offensive line going to hold up Pat had no time to throw. This is NFL football, man. Start playing it like men. Stop playing like a bunch of punks. Stop it, man. You don't need to be trying to stop a play. Stop. Learn to defend it. You got the whole off season. Put down the cheeseburger, Andy, and defend it.
All right, Black. Last second shot. I can't top that.
My last second shot is this, man. I love this show, the facility, the cats up there. Do me a favor, stop talking about the Cowboys. It's off season. No one wants to talk about the Cowboys, man. Stop it. Every show, we don't have to talk about the Cowboys. I know they're American. You think they're American team. Fine, I don't care if you talk about pickleball. Stop talking about the Cowboys.
Last second shot.
Yeah, I was going to talk about something about that Trey Lance, but I'm going to leave that alone. I want to say kudos to Alex Ovechkin in hockey, who actually took over the all-time scoring leader by scoring his 895th goal, passing the great one, Wayne Gretzky. Some people are like, why are you talking about hockey? I remember when Ovechkin came in. He's always been a dynamite player, originally from Russia. Tough guy, really likable guy. Really, I think he brought a lot of zest and a lot of excitement back to hockey for a lot of people. But just kudos to him at this point of his life. It was one of those marks that we probably didn't think would be broken. That would be the kid Crosby would have been the one who did it. But Ovechkin is the guy that's been around, so he's like 39 years old. Not sure how much longer he's going to play, but kudos to him for getting it done and refusing to do it on an empty netter. Kudos.
Yeah, they were asking him, does he have like a special diet that he eats? He's like, I eat what I want. Ain't no sports diet. I
Dumb
eat what I
question.
want. All right, one quick question, man. Real quick, just one word answer with this one. Carmelo Anthony, Hall of Famer. Black,
F no.
Ice.
Maybe.
I think he got voted in. So yeah. So I don't know. First round ballot. I didn't see it, but they're bringing him in. Yeah.
So did Dwight Howard.
Okay. All right. My last second shot. Michael Jordan, kudos, donating money to build a health clinic in North Carolina for folks who can't afford health care. Thank you. We always kind of give you a lot of flack on this show for other things, but got to give you credit where credit is due. And thanks for looking out for the people of North Carolina. That's our show. We'll catch you next week. Peace.